Not because you want to, but you have to. Be bold and no time to be bashful. Grab life by the horns like a natural. Be sharp, be quick, and be agile. Never ever let a competitor catch you. Stay ahead of whatever is trying to pass you. Though it's not a race, sometimes that's how you gotta operate.
Hello, Samuel Ray here, also known to some as Dr. Sam. This is S-Factor Labs, or at least that's what I call my little corner of the internet where we keep things clean and approachable to people of all ages, young and old. And this is Morning Boot Up. This is my little solo segment where weekly I just take a topic that's on my mind and just kind of ramble about it a little bit. Not scripted, not structured, just me giving my unfiltered thoughts on a topic. Pardon my pauses here and there. Still drinking my coffee. So, yeah, still kind of waking up, but something recent happened, and honestly, it kind of builds upon a previous episode. So 2 weeks ago, I talked about who I am, what I'm about, and why I do what I do in my content and such, my branding, and all that. So I'll leave links in the descriptions to that, and in the YouTube version I'll annotate it on screen. But this kind of builds off of that in the aspect of my being a safe for work content creator, a clean creator, and the general, how did I put it? I thought of it a certain way too. I guess the odd treatment of being clean, both in content creation and just in society, but I'm going to mostly relate this to being a content creator and streamer. But it's just odd how being family friendly, all ages, safe for work, whatever capacity you want to say it. In the VTuber circles, it was originally referred to as say-so, meaning, in the closest meaning in English being clean, originally in an aspect of, cleaning up an area, housekeeping and such. But when you apply the word clean to one's speech and behavior, it means devoid of, profanity, innuendo, and other such things that would be not suitable for younger viewers or not suitable in a professional work environment or not appropriate in many environments and settings. So clean, same meaning. It doesn't matter what anyone else tries to say. If you define it as meaning clean, and clean when applied to speech and conduct means that. Simple as that. So, being clean though, as the days go along, as the years go along, it's being treated more and more negatively, or with a stigma, or with an asterisk of expectations of something underlying, something sinister, which makes it very difficult for people who are genuinely just prone to, speech and behavior that's more suited to all ages content, younger and older audiences. In general, being clean seems to be, like if you say family friendly, many people, too many, equate that with inherently meaning juvenile, directed towards kids, targeting young viewers or a young audience. But that's not true. By definition, family friendly, as in suitable for the whole family. That means the younger members of that family and the older members of that family. Family friendly, not child friendly or, child targeted. And honestly, that's where I slot in. That's me. As I bring out in the previous video, I don't use profanity or innuendo in my day-to-day life. I was just raised in a way where that's not in my vocabulary. It's not what comes to my brain naturally to express myself. That's just not how my brain works. Like, I legitimately don't think of swear words when I'm trying to say what I'm thinking. It legitimately just does not come to my head naturally. So it just only makes sense that in my content, I'm not going to force myself to use profanity or innuendo in ways that I wouldn't in my day-to-day life. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to talk like I always do. So if I have clean speech in real life, I'm going to have clean speech in my content and streams. Simple as that. However, a lot of people seem to have this idea, this notion, preconceived and ill-conceived, that if someone isn't using profanity and innuendo, that they're somehow not genuine. They're not real. They're not being real. They're being fake or forcing themselves. But obviously, that's not the case in my case, at least. I can't speak for everyone who tries to make family-friendly content, but in my case, that's just me being myself. By speaking the way I do daily, when there's no cameras or recording material going, recording software, I should say, I'm not going to be using swear words at work. I don't use swear words with my coworkers. I'm actually known as being like one of the only people there who doesn't use profanity. And there's a girl there who is trying to reduce her, consciously she's trying to reduce the amount of profanity she uses. And she almost looks to me as an example of it because I'm the only person she knows who doesn't use profanity naturally. Like, legitimately, the last time she, we were just having regular conversation while working, she let something slip and she's like, "Oh, sorry, Sam." I'm like, "Why are you apologizing to me?" And she's like, "Well, you're the only person I know who doesn't use profanity, so it kind of helps me to, aspire to that and to push myself to not use profanity." So that's literally, it's that much part of who I am. And it sticks out because in most environments, I'm one of the very few, if not the only, who isn't using profanity with any kind of frequency or at all. So, people can have a preconceived notion about people who don't use profanity as being fake or not genuine, but literally it would be less genuine and it would be more fake for me to actually force myself to use profanity and innuendo. So what am I supposed to do there, right? Oh, you're gonna assume that I'm not real, that I'm not genuine because I'm not using profanity, when in reality that is me being genuine. That is me staying true to who I am. And then there's this just general stigma, like I said earlier, that being family friendly means aiming your content at children, ignoring the whole definition of family being, multiple members of a family. But that's kind of tied to our modern society kind of trying to eliminate the traditional family, mother, father, and children. So if you look at a family, though, that is the parents and the children, right? So family friendly means it's content that the whole family can enjoy, the young viewers and the new viewers. And I grew up on a lot of entertainment that did just that. I grew up on a lot of, say, the DC and Marvel superheroes. My parents actually introduced me to those entertainment franchises, and it was something we always enjoyed together. Looking at DC Comics, their animated universe, spearheaded by Bruce Timm. Excellent stuff. It started with Batman the Animated Series. Great show. Very mature. It didn't dumb down or talk down to the viewers. It didn't treat them like they were stupid or incapable of understanding complex stories and themes. It tackled complex stories and themes. However, it didn't need to be bloody or gory or filled with profanity or, sexually suggestive content in order to tackle those themes. That's true maturity. Maturity doesn't mean bloody and gory and sexualized. It means having depth, having complexity. Sometimes having a message to say that children may not understand because of the lack of experiences they have in their life. That's the real meaning of maturity. The idea that maturity means swearing a lot, being highly sexualized and such. That's, ironically enough, a childish, a juvenile view of maturity. It's not real maturity. Maturity is when your experiences and your growth beyond the juvenile things is evident in how you act and speak. That's what maturity is. It's when you stop being so concerned with the childish things and start acting like an adult. Sometimes putting aside what you want to do what you have to do, or putting aside what would cause you personal gain to do the right thing. That's maturity. You know, and it's the way you think about things. Do you think about things with nuance and depth and complexity? Do you look past the initial impulsive reaction that we see far too often from, quote, adults, end quote, on the internet, especially on Twitter and Reddit, I would say, and TikTok and Instagram. So let's just say all social media, honestly. On social media, you see a lot of people who are not minors, who are grown up, still acting very immaturely. And that's rewarded on these social media platforms with higher engagement and internet brownie points or clout or whatever you want to call it. But it's really the opposite of maturity. So when a person sees a PR public announcement, public statement from a company employing entertainment talent, talking about this talent's, public misconduct and apparent from their actions, apparent lack of intent to improve, or get their act right. And then you have a ton of people acting like holding that talent, that individual accountable is somehow an injustice, or that it's an indicator that the company is soft, or that the industry is soft, that particular entertainment sub-industry is soft, or the people who agree with it are soft. And it's just it's so stupid how these people are like, if you can't do whatever you want, do and say whatever you want, whenever you want, with no consequences, then you're soft, or it's injustice. That's a childish way of looking at it. And then when someone sees something like that and says, maybe that company could benefit from hiring, in the future, hiring talent who have already set the precedent, a track record, consistency in not doing things that would force the company, the employer, to make such public statements. And then for saying something like that, suggesting that, which is a logical thought process, but when such a statement is treated with such an aggressive aversion, to the extent that people act like it's just an awful idea or some sort of horribly evil concept, or some sort of a put down to anyone who, I guess, can't control themselves enough to not require their employer to make a public statement about their behavior on repeated occasions, and a lack of shown intent to, clean up their act. Like, honestly, what are we defending here? We're defending having no concern for how you make the company you represent look, or having no sense of propriety, which means everything in its proper place, keeping speech and behavior appropriate for the setting, right? What you do in privacy of your own house is entirely your choice, as it should be. But when you're in a public figure in an entertainment industry, representing your employer, the company that you work under and carry the name of, certain things should not be done or said. Simple as that. Professionalism. Professionalism doesn't mean you're not being genuine. You can't be yourself, or you can't be entertaining. Professionalism just means you understand where the boundaries lie and you're not going to try and cross them, or you're not going to try and tiptoe the line. But professionalism is so often nowadays treated as boring inherently, or like there's just absolutely no way that professionalism or being clean can be entertaining. And that honestly is the source of all the issues. If people were treating clean as juvenile and boring all the time, then these talents, these entertainers would not feel as much of a need to be edgy and not safe for work and just vulgar and stuff in order to try and be entertaining to the lowest common denominator, which unfortunately in this day and age is the most common denominator. It really is sad though, that how culturally people are so conditioned by the people around them to think that clean or family friendly means childish, when that's simply not the case. In my personal case, like I said, I'm a grown man who just doesn't use profanity or innuendo in my day-to-day life because the way I was raised. My father raised me on the phrase, small minds use small words. And so he was encouraging me to express myself more intelligently and with a broader vocabulary, instead of falling back on profanities. And that stuck with me, and it helped shape the adult that I became. However, even though I don't use profanity and innuendo, I'm not exactly an immature person. I may look younger than I actually am by about 5 years, but most people who actually talk to me, they immediately know that I'm older than I look. And because of how I carry myself, how I speak, and how I act, it accurately conveys my maturity, because that's what maturity actually is, not profanity. And so on YouTube, where I can actually see some analytics regarding my audience and stuff, I have found that my primary audience on YouTube is ages 25 through 44. That's quite a wide swath, and distinctly adults, and mature adults, mind you, because let's be honest, ages 18 through 21-ish, or 18 through 23, you're still kind of figuring out who you are as an adult. You're still not fully mature yet. 25 is when I would say a lot of people start to actually find their maturity and find their identity and their true path in life. So ages 25 through 44. So you're going from mature young adults to middle-aged. That's a pretty decent span of ages. And then on top of that, because I don't use profanity or innuendo, and I don't feature games that have copious profanity or gory violence or anything of the sort, or any, sexually suggestive content, my content is safe for children. However, as shown from the analytics, because I don't act or speak in a juvenile way, I don't pander to children, I don't target children, my stuff's just safe for children because there's nothing in it that parents would see as bad, as unsuitable for their children. So it's safe for them, but it's not directed at them. I include younger viewers like I would include anyone else who is in my, stream chat or audience and are respecting my rules. I'm going to offer that kind of, I'm going to extend that welcoming vibe to anyone who is enjoying my content and is respectful of my rules, regardless of age. But while my content and streams are safe for younger viewers and inclusive of them, and inclusivity in this day and age is a big thing, right? I don't discriminate based on age. I don't discriminate based on anything else either. A lot of content creators, especially in, let's say, the VTuber space, heavily discriminate based on age. If you're under 18, they hard gatekeep you out. And I'm like, that's an entire audience that is largely untapped or alienated. And I'm not going to be one of the people who alienates them. I'm not aiming specifically for them, but I'm not going to push them away either. But clearly, I appeal to adults as well, people in my age bracket, right? And it makes sense because I don't portray myself as anything but myself, an adult man, you know, with the maturity that I've obtained through my experiences in life. And that's pretty much it. You know, a lot of people who talk to me, a lot of adults who talk to me, I should say, often enjoy conversation with me. Like, I'm talking about in voice, not on the internet, in text. Because in text on social media with limited characters available in like tweets, for example, it's really hard to convey nuance in any opinion or thought that you want to convey. And it's just far too easy for, you know, the chronically online, aka people who don't know how to handle opinions different from themselves, don't know how to look beyond their own perspective to, you know, step out of the frame and see the bigger picture. People who see something they disagree with and want to treat that as evil or immoral, or I don't know, like their opinions are fact and therefore anyone who disagrees with them is factually wrong, which is just not true. The only form of objectivity is when it's based on reality, and reality is what it is regardless of anyone's feelings or perspective. Perspective can be limited. Perspective can come from ignorance, a lack of knowledge, but that doesn't define reality. Reality is what it is based on what we can observe. That's what fact is based on. So, but these people on the internet, they treat their subjective opinions as fact and then try to villainize or demonize anyone who disagrees with them or anyone who says something they don't like or don't agree with. It's insanity. But anyone who speaks with me, has a conversation with our voices, often say that I'm a conversationalist and enjoyable to talk with. And that's because I approach discussions and even disagreements as an adult. You know, I understand that not everyone's going to agree with my opinions on things. But at the same time, I have the conviction that when I am certain that I've put enough logical thought into something and analyzed facts and reality to come up with as close to an objective conclusion as I can, I'm going to stick by my guns. I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm going to say my thoughts with conviction. And I'm going to be assertive. And assertiveness is not aggressiveness. There's a big difference. Aggressiveness is a destructive form of assertiveness. Assertiveness is to speak or act decisively instead of being, you know, soft and just laying down for, you know, showing the underbelly for others to walk all over you. No, that isn't me, and that's never going to be me. If I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to speak like I know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to, you know, water it down, sugarcoat it with, in my opinion, all the time, when it isn't actually, you know, subjective matter. Or, you know, say what I think and then back off by saying, well, that's just what I think. You know, no. When I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to speak as such. And that's not pretentiousness to do so. That's just assertiveness. And you only weak people see assertiveness as aggressiveness, and only weak people see assertiveness and feel threatened. You know, if you don't have the conviction to stand by your own words in the face of someone who is assertive and has that conviction to stand by their words, they're not the problem. The assertive one isn't the problem. And yeah, some people are going to dislike what I say. Some people are going to hate me for being assertive at times, for standing my ground, for being true to myself and being genuinely me, even if that means I'm going to be different than the majority. But it takes real strength to have the conviction to be yourself, to do what you know is right, even when everyone around you isn't. That's going to be me. I'm going to stay like that. I know who I am. I'm not going to change myself for anybody else. So if you like who I am, or at the very least you have the maturity to respect it, and even if you disagree, discuss things in a mature, civil way, then you're welcome here, of course. I'm not trying to create an echo chamber where everyone must agree with me and must support everything I say. No, I like to spark conversation. I like to spark discussion. I like to get new perspectives in there. I mean, I name my counter, my podcast brand, Counterpick-New Perspectives, because that's what it's all about, is being anti-echo chamber, not being complacent in only, having yes men, people who are only going to agree with what you say, what I say, or what any individual says, but rather bring varied perspectives, because it's only through variety and versatility that a person can be balanced. So I encourage people to, state their perspective, to state their thoughts, their conclusions, their analysis, even their feelings, as long as they're able to do so in a respectable way. And, they don't put feelings over facts, of course, when facts are what matter in the conversation. Of course, the topics are what determine that. Some conversations and topics are literally subjective, like, say, taste in entertainment, right? What one person finds boring, like all these people out there who find, clean entertainment content, boring and not enjoyable. For everyone who finds it that way, there's someone else out there who it's exactly what they're looking for, And I've always had that. I have that mindset of I'm willing to do what others won't. So since I'm naturally someone with clean speech and conduct in my day-to-day life, and so many other people in content creation are, prone to alienate and push away younger viewers, fine, I'll do what they won't, since I'm uniquely qualified because of who I really am, who I genuinely and naturally am. I am inherently qualified to make content that is safe for younger viewers without being juvenile, without being childish. That's what I offer. That is unique in the content creation space, especially on the smaller level, but is definitely more rare among content creators of all types. And, I have confidence that with time, or maybe the right kind of backing or sponsorship, I could get more eyes on me and actually, reach more of the audience that is right for that kind of content, that kind of community. Younger viewers who aren't going to feel like they're being ostracized, but also mature, older viewers who enjoy, listening to or talking with a mature adult, even though I don't need to use, I don't feel the need to use profanity or innuendo. I'm still a mature adult in how I think about things and how I talk. So adults tend to enjoy talking to me anyway. And that's a broad audience. So who knows, maybe someday I can make this a bit more of a profession to where I can put more time and energy into it. But for now, I'm gonna stick with what I can do and gradually improve in what I can do and just see where things take me. But this stigma about family-friendly content being juvenile, it annoys me so much. And when you can make a suggestion that a company that kind of has the talent of said entertainment company has the reputation of being unhinged and very edgy and pushing the boundaries of appropriateness all the time, and frequently having controversy and other stuff that they have to make public statements about. Okay, I guess that's the audience they're going for, the people who like that stuff, but that is a very volatile audience, and that company could do well to hire some more people who are, of a cleaner kind, who can have a broader audience appeal and not invite controversy or act with misconduct that would force the parent company to have to make public statements about the talent's behavior. You know, I honestly, if you're a business, you're gonna want people who aren't gonna force you to say this person's behavior doesn't represent the company and they're being dealt with accordingly, they're suspended. It's just not a good look on the company, right? It's not a good look on the individual, but it's also not a good look on the company that employs that individual. And if they have people that they just consistently or constantly have to do that, or at least somewhat frequently, more accurately, you know, that company could do well to hire some people who have already set precedent and established a track record that they're not going to force the company to do that stuff. Not a crazy idea. It's not out there. It's logically sound, and definitely doesn't deserve, you know, an aggressive, like, attacking for being suggested. That's just so stupid. I'm sorry, it's idiotic. I'm gonna say it like it is, but it's just an idiotic mindset that anyone could even see someone saying that and take it as like an attack on whoever it doesn't apply to. You know, saying that one group of people, you know, in this case like clean or safe for work content creators are not prone to doing something, saying clean content creators are less likely to do, less likely on average to do things that would cause you to have to make public announcements against. That's not a statement against anyone else. Saying this group of people has a tendency to being free of drama, right? Free of controversy. They have a tendency to. That's a statement about their tendency, their trait. It's not an inherent, oh, this other group is worse because they don't have that tendency. No, I'm simply stating this group has this tendency to be free of controversy. Hard stop. There is no implication there. Any implication seen or interpreted in that is literally just self-projection onto that message. Like has been said on Twitter, Twitterites imagine a person. They see someone's message and they imagine who they assume that person is, and then they attack the person. And that in and of itself is a logical fallacy, where you attack the person making the argument instead of the argument itself, right? And it's called a logical fallacy because it is logically false, aka foolish. So, and that invalidates it. That invalidates such an argument. It has no value. It is worthless. It is a waste of breath, a waste of time, and doesn't deserve respect if your argument is based on a logical fallacy like that. If you make assumptions about a person because of some weirdly self-projected implications that you interpret, I don't care. You're not speaking on anything that holds any actual real value. And I'm sorry if that's a hot take, but whatever, you know? I'm at this point in my life, I just do not have the energy to care about people who are going to put their feelings and limited perspective as more important than logic and objectivity. I just can't. I'm not gonna respect those people beyond the most basic of human respect. That's who I am right now. You know, I'm not gonna treat people poorly. I'm not gonna go out of my way to anger people. But if stating my opinion honestly and genuinely is gonna ruffle the feathers of some people who are overly sensitive, or chronically online people who just can't handle new perspectives, different perspectives, or opinions that differ from them, or takes that they don't agree with, even if the take itself may be actually way more realistic, logical, and objective. But so many people on the internet, if they just don't agree with it, they act as if it's just factually wrong. And that's not reality. And I will never treat it as such, and I will never assign it value as such. So to state that this company could benefit from hiring some, in the future, and that's not even saying get rid of these other people. That's not even a statement on that. It's for future hires. You could benefit from looking at safe for work, clean content creators with a track record of consistency in not being controversial. Hard stop. Focus on what's said, not what you imagine the person implies. And it's a factually true statement. If that company looks at people who have that track record of not being controversial, it could only benefit them. Because one, it'll broaden their audience, the company's overall audience appeal. Two, it'll prevent, or at least those new hires aren't as likely to create situations that would reflect poorly upon the company, which also means less time and energy and money going into PR, the public relations department, having to clean up the mess of these people who just can't control their mouths, right? It's just a net win. You're not putting anyone else out of a job. You're just adding some more positive traits into your company's offerings, right? That's just a good thing overall, no matter what. And there's an illustration that fits this so perfectly. When you're gardening and you have to pull the weeds, right? That way they don't choke out the plants you're trying to grow. So let's say you're planting some flowers. You don't want the weeds to choke out the flowers, so you have to pull out the weeds first. But in ground, if you pull out weeds and you don't replace it with something productive, like a flower or some produce, what happens? More weeds grow back without you even doing anything. When you do nothing, weeds grow, right? You have to actively put in the effort to replace the weeds with something productive in order for there to be any improvement. That's just how it works. It's the same with people's traits and qualities. If you don't replace the bad with some good, you're just going to get more of the bad. Even if you remove some of the bad, but you don't replace it with good, you're going to get some bad. It's just going to fill in and multiply. That's just how it goes. So companies where they have to make these PR statements about their talent's behavior, if they don't start counterbalancing that with some talent that have good traits, positive, clean, upbuilding, just overall positive, good traits, it's never going to get any better in terms of the talent, but it's also not going to get any better in terms of the audience. Because right now, if a company has a lot of people that are known for being chaotic and unhinged and, on the borders of what's appropriate for a professional employee in entertainment, and then that culture of the audience forms around that, and to the point where they might, as I've been told, might want to almost try to corrupt anyone who joins that's clean, you're not going to change that for the better until you start plucking some weeds and replacing them with some actual productive flowers or produce. You've got to put something counter in there to affect any kind of improvement. So it's not a crazy take for me to suggest that. And I wish, I know that's not going to change anything, but that's why I do what I do. But it would be nice if family friendly or all ages, especially in entertainment content and content creation, was treated by its definition. All ages. All doesn't mean children only. All means all. Use the words for their definitions. Family friendly. Friendly for the family. Not the children. The family. As in the whole family. Meaning the children and the parents. Use words for their definitions, people. Not what you feel they mean or what you imagine they mean. Family. Parents, children. All ages. All encompassing. All. Young and old. All. From young to old. All. Use the words for their definitions, people. Literally, you don't try to change definitions. Go off of what the words actually mean. Go off of what people actually say, not what you imagine they imply. Stop treating family friendly and all ages as juvenile, because that is not the implied or inherent definition. The content I create is family friendly because it's safe for younger viewers, but it's not targeted at them. It still appeals to older audiences because I still behave and speak in a mature way. That is family friendly, all ages, by definition. And wanting more of that in these larger companies that hire entertainment talents is not a bad thing. It shouldn't be treated as a bad thing. When did clean and respectable become a bad thing, right? When did that have to become synonymous in the minds of the majority with boringness, with being boring and bland? And I don't get people. I really don't. And I know this is more of a rant than usual, but I don't get it. It's so just imbecilic. It's stupid. It is. And I'm not calling any individual stupid, but I'm just saying collectively it is so stupid. And it's just such an indicator of how much human society, especially here in the Western countries, it has just fallen. Like, come on. And I'm not even saying everyone has to be clean. There's niches for everything, right? So, yeah, there are those people who are going to like that edgy or sexualized or whatever, you know, full of profanity content. To each their own. Obviously, to each their own. You know? You find your target audience. And audience, you find those content creators that suit what you're looking for. But to act like there should be no clean content creators because they're all boring, that's hypocritical. If you want your content, you should allow others to want their content. You should allow others to advocate for and support what they want to see more of. That's just how it is. If you want what you get, you should allow others to also want what they want. That's how it should be. That's, you know, fair and balanced, right? And if you already have in like a particular content creation space, if you already have a lot, you know, a majority of successful ones who are more prone to using profanity and innuendos and just being, you know, in general more vulgar or sexual or whatever, well, if you like that stuff, then you already have a lot to pick from. And you should have absolutely no issues with people who want something a little different from getting that. You shouldn't have that mindset of one or the other. You enjoy what you enjoy, let other people have something they can enjoy too. Even if what their preferences are differs from yours. Just be a mature adult about it, you know? And I hope a lot more of these companies hire cleaner content creators, because, especially in the VTuber space, because there's an audience out there for both young and old for cleaner content who are mostly overlooked and under catered to, you know, untapped, just generally alienated. And I hope some of these companies tap into that. And I'm not saying that it has to be me. This isn't a pick me. This isn't a you should hire me then. There's a lot of other clean content creators out there. I personally put in the effort to find and you know, verify that they are as clean as they say they are, that they claim to be. And I found quite a few, and I'm gradually still finding more, slowly but surely. It is harder to find people who are genuinely clean content creators, instead of people who try to use tags suggesting they're clean and then either be slipping up often or just completely using those tags disingenuously. But there are clean content creators out there, and there's an audience, there's a niche for them. We just need more backing and more visibility, more discoverability. That's what we don't get, because we don't get as many opportunities with the established companies and brands that can make it possible. You know, I know what I can offer, and you know, if ever I do audition, I'm not going to talk about it publicly in most cases because that's a bad idea. But I know what to portray, what value to convey to them, what I offer that pretty much no other male agency, VTuber, or in general just sponsored content creator has to offer. You know, there's nothing wrong or pretentious about understanding your value either, and knowing what you can offer if you were given the opportunity. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with advocating for clean content creators to have more opportunities. That's only fair, right? Opportunities should be as close to equal as possible, right? Realistically speaking, while still keeping in mind to the merit of the individual. So let clean creators have that opportunity. You know, if you enjoy cleaner content creators, support them. They need it. You know, us out here, we're going against the current. We're swimming against the current here. We're definitely going against the grain in the majority case. So we need your help more now than ever in the past. And there's so many ways you can support clean content creators. You don't even have to do it monetarily. If you're able to do it monetarily, people definitely enjoy it. I have like a Ko-fi, I'm not sure how you say it. I have that set up and linked to, but I don't necessarily push it that much because I'm not trying to beg for money from people. And I even have like some voice acting commissions on there because I would much prefer if people give me money, it be for a product, you know? And yeah, entertainment is a product, but I'm still pretty new and I'm still improving. So I'm not exactly going around asking people for money for what I offer. I'm pretty content for most people to be able to watch all my stuff for free, you know? But there's many clean content creators out there who could use not just monetary support, but you can support us in free ways too, helping us with engagement. Liking or even disliking videos helps their engagement to go higher, helps the algorithm to push them more. You know, on like live streams, doing things like making clips, using the channel point redeems, you know, sharing links, or suggesting, you know, recommending to friends, sticking around through ad breaks, you know, because while ad revenue is real paltry, especially on platforms like Twitch, well, in general, because it's like per 1,000 views or something like that, per 1,000 listens, it's crazy. Ad revenue is really paltry unless you have a massive audience. But sticking around through those ads instead of, you know, tabbing off or skipping, or, well, maybe not skipping, but tabbing off or leaving when ads happen, sticking through those ads supports in the long term. And it doesn't cost you anything but a little bit of time. And heck, you can be doing something else while the ad's playing. And it doesn't, you know, what did you really lose, right? But you're still supporting the content creator. Engaging with them on social media, engaging with them in the comments sections of their YouTube videos, or leaving reviews on podcast platforms. There's so many ways you can support us clean content creators that don't require you getting your wallet out, you know, getting out your credit card. Do those things, you know. We definitely need your support since we tend to take it's a smaller, you know, slower road to growth. We definitely get less exposure, less eyes on us, because we're not as controversial or, you know, doing things that can be taken out of context to be suggestive in clips and all that kind of stuff. So if you enjoy clean content creators, which if you're a viewer of my channel, if you are a subscriber to my YouTube, or you follow my podcast, then you're probably someone who appreciates, you know, well thought out thoughts and discussions and cleaner content creators, people who don't feel the need to curse all the time and such, because I never have in my content, I never will. But if you're the kind of person who enjoys the stuff and you follow my content, then I think you're already the kind of person who is qualified, you know, in a way, to support cleaner content creators. So I definitely encourage you to do that. And if you see discussion on the internet where, you know, things like suggesting a company hires some cleaner creators to help offset some of the controversial and bad PR stuff, if you see someone like that getting met, you know, with people coming at them sideways, speak up. You know, speak up in defense of the merit of the thought. You know, you don't even have to be speaking up in defense of the person per se. Just don't be afraid to tell people how the idea, the concept, is not a bad one by any kind of inherent metric. You know, don't be afraid to tell people reality. Tell people like it is. You know, speak your mind instead of just passively sitting aside, or like, you know, or simply just like the tweet or something. You know, there's all sorts of ways you can support cleaner creators, but unfortunately in this day and age, either being naturally clean or choosing to be clean, it puts you at a disadvantage. It's undisputable. It puts you at a disadvantage. You're swimming against the current, like I said earlier. So those of us who actually do that, either out of choice or just because that's who we naturally are, we definitely need the support. And especially those of us who who is just who we naturally are, because like people like myself, I'm not going to be fake and force myself to use profanity or innuendo. That's just not me. So why should I be punished for being myself, right? So I definitely appreciate the support that y'all give me, every single view, every comment, you know, every like, and all of that stuff. And I definitely hope to see you going forward. Hope to see comments from you. Hope to see, you know, you sharing your thoughts with me, even if we disagree. I love civil debate or discussion or whatever, as long as it's not a hostile argument, you know. Let's just keep it civil and respectful. But yeah, please like or dislike if you disagree with anything. Share your thoughts in the comments. You know, anything you agree with, anything you disagree with, anything you may have thought of that I didn't say or think of. And I look forward to seeing you very soon as I continue to bring more content that I enjoy making, that I hope you enjoy watching and listening to, and I hope to do more in near future to expand what I do, you know, with time and resources, to tap into that niche that is just too underrepresented, too under catered to, that doesn't have enough to feel comfortable in, you know, enough communities and content creation spaces to feel comfortable in and welcome. I'm sticking with my guns. I'm gonna be myself, nobody else. That's all I'm ever going to be. So, you know, like me or dislike me, I'm only ever going to be me. And I think that there is something to be said for being able to offer clean content that's not juvenile. That's what I'm going to stick with. That's what comes naturally to me, and that's what I enjoy making. So, hope you enjoy, you know, partaking of this, the entertainment I create and the discussions that I try to create and encourage. And I definitely look forward to talking to you again soon. I'll be streaming again next opportunity I get. Unfortunately, I can't plan my Twitch streams ahead of time because my work schedule consistently changes on me. So every week I can't plan it until I see the next week's schedule. So like Friday is literally the earliest I can plan the following week's, you know, what I have to do that week and whether or not I have time to stream. But I'm still going to keep up on the YouTube grind as well and try to keep this little solo rambles series going weekly. And then I have plans to bring the podcast proper back. My brother he's recovered from his injury and he's back. So now we have the actual flexibility and freedom to plan something out and have a proper episode coming out soon. So I hope you look forward to that. And feel free to leave suggestions on topics, as long as they're related to gaming, to like the video game landscape. Then we'll take it into consideration. Or, you know, if you're listening on a podcast platform and you can't exactly comment, you can hit me up on Twitter, you know, or anything like that, or in my Discord server, or over on YouTube. I'll have that linked in the podcast platform's show notes or the description. All right, so this has been a bit more of a ranty ramble from Samuel Ray, aka Dr. Sam, but hope you enjoyed what I had to say, or it got you thinking a little bit, and I will see you next time. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you later.